Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, are you cold as I am right now?
Oh my gosh. It's like 40 degrees here. It's the 9th of May. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. We had snow last night. It's all gone now. It's ridiculous.
We had snow this morning. I slept through it. I was up late last night watching people streaming games on YouTube, and I looked at my phone before I went to bed, and it says, between 6 and 8, it's going to snow. And I get up, and the wife's like, yep, it was snowing like a son of a gun here. Again, it's all gone, but May 9th, it's in the 30s and snowing. I'm cold. I'm real cold.
And they opened up the golf courses where you are and I are. Can't you imagine trying to go hit some iron shots today?
Yeah, imagine that first Saturday where the golf course is open and we get snow and cold. That's unbelievable. It really is.
Well, it's been March 9th since March 9th. So this is the 60th straight day of March 9th.
Pretty much. It just doesn't want to end. So, hey, anyway, before we get into what we're playing, we had a suggestion for one of our future shows that we're going to need some listener feedback on. So, Ron, why don't you explain what that is?
Yeah, Ann Welcher, who helps with the Sports Simulations and Replays magazine. I'd forget the name of the magazine off the top of my head, but she's the one that helps with that. She had a great idea for a topic. Who for you on your tabletop or your computer for great teams tends to underperform, such as the 72 Dolphins or something like that? And what teams have you that you didn't expect much of? Have they overperformed? Have they won championships or gone deep? The 78 Milwaukee Brewers, for me, comes to mind. But we want to know from you what it is, who's kind of like, have you had bad success with like a Laker team that won a title or whatever? I suppose a real-life example, Dave, would be the Tampa Bay Lightning last year.
Yeah.
Yep. That sort of thing, or a team that kind of overachieved, such as the 87 Minnesota Twins. So who have you had on the tabletop or the computer or the console that has performed well for you when you didn't expect it, or ones you expected to be gangbusters and they went that sort of thing? So Pedro Martinez, someone said, always underperformed. So let us know, and when we get enough comments, we're going to do a show on that, because it's a very good topic. Because you always expect that those great teams are going to do great things. And then when they act human, so to speak, you're just kind of always surprised.
It is fun, and that's the fun of it. I know last night I was playing some Strat Hockey on the PC, and I was playing 82-83, and I wanted a blowout game, so I took the Edmonton Oilers and the New Jersey Devils, okay, because they were kind of a mismatch back then. And I only played like 5 or 10 minutes of the first period, and it was 1-0 New Jersey in Edmonton. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that New Jersey was even winning in this game. Now, by the time it ends, it's probably going to be a blowout. But it just was funny that we were talking about this topic, and I was like, this is kind of happening to me right now in this game.
Yes. Well, Edmonton's capable of scoring 4 goals and 3 cards. Yes. So
that's right. All right. So before we get to the what we're playing. Wait, we did
that already.
Okay, no. We need this.
Aunt Becky, that's not what they mean to do with the Uber Eats driver, okay?
You struggled with that one a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
It's been a couple weeks. You're off your game. You missed 1 week. People were begging for it, and you come up to the plate and swinging a miss.
It was that or a UPS package, and I think that's what it did the last time too. We did the interview last week, and 90% of the comments on YouTube was, "Where's the Aunt Becky thing?" Right. I can't believe that. It's just
Ron, even Wilt Chamberlain didn't score 100 points every game. So I mean, you're doing off week. So Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the boost of confidence, Gardner.
There we go. All right, so what have you been playing, man?
Action PC Golf. I did a couple of videos of that. We did the virtual unboxing, and then I went around and I took my own golfer, and I played a casual round at Glen Abbey, the home of the Canadian Open in Ontario. So I took a course I hadn't played and recorded my thought process through all the shots. And that went well, and so I reset my all-time greats tour because I hadn't played it in a few years, and played my first tournament over the last 2 days and was in good shape after 3 days, and then we had 30-mile-an-hour winds on day 4. and the game mechanics and the wind are something I'm not quite used to
now,
yet.
did you, when you set that up, were you using like today's wind, or were you, automatic random wind?
It's all random.
Because I know you can call up current conditions. So if you tried to play Boston today, you'd be getting 60-mile-an-hour wind. In fact, I should do that for fun. That should be fun.
It could be. No, it's all set to random. When you start a tournament, it gives you a default setting for course firmness, rough, and green speeds. And so I just left it there because it's supposed to be Cabo in Mexico is supposed to be an easy course. You're supposed to go have fun on it. And so I didn't change any of the settings at all. So I saw it was supposed to be a windy day today. By the way, in the tournament screen for things that are kind of hazardous, the weather, most things will show up in black. This one showed up in red. Ooh. So the rough was in red. I might back it down for future tournaments, and the wind was in red.
Okay.
And so there's some new elements to the game that the knockdown shot, how to play that properly. Once I figured out how to do that, I stopped spraying drives into the rough. I didn't even too unplayable. So that's the fun of desert golf. So I did some of that. Because someone keeps playing Stratomatic basketball, I wonder who that is.
No idea.
I have no idea who that is, Al, or it's you. That's right. I pulled it out. I put in my authorizations and got so many replays going that I'm playing right now a Celtics Nets game from 85, 86 and trying to get the speed right and make sure I feel like I'm involved enough in it and that. And, of course, the 78 baseball replay, by the time that you hear this, will be up to the All-Star game.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So first half of the season's all done, and we might, if they start the real season by July 4th, almost be ready for the playoffs by the time that we actually get to some real baseball. So that's pretty much what I've been doing, and I did a football. Oh, yeah, I did a tribute game for Don Shula, and for the first time in my tribute game history, the person that I was honoring lost.
Oh, yeah, I watched that game. Yeah, I did.
Which I supposedly jinxed. So that's what I've been playing.
Okay. Let's see. What have I been doing there? Oh, I got some Strat basketball seasons in, and I did a little experiment up in Studio C. I did a video for it that some of you might have seen. I did the fourth quarter, Celtics and Lakers from 83-84. I had a real good time doing that. Let me see. So I set it up just to play the fourth quarter. I played in Boston. I had a nice little setup on the table. I thought the video came out really good. I really do. Mm-hmm. I come down to the last shot. It was really fun. It was a great finish to that game. I'm really enjoying basic mode of Strat basketball. The only problem is I have two older seasons that play the older cards, which for me are unplayable. So I actually sat down one night and I come up with a modification of the old cards so I could play with the new basic cards, if you follow that. And it's just kind of a sliding scale on defense. And, I needed to come up with, if you flip the card, if it wasn't there on the old card, then I needed to come up with some kind of a chart. And I think I did, and I need to try that out. But in one of my my first playthroughs I did offline, it seemed to work pretty well. And I don't know how accurate it is, but at least I can play the two seasons I have without having to sell them and get rid of them and not use them.
Oh, that's great. And you'll get a lot of use out of them, too. So.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that. I really am. I think out of the three that I have, baseball, basketball, and hockey, I really feel like the basketball basic, I feel you get a lot for the bang for the buck with that. Hockey, I thought the basic was too basic, maybe because I know hockey more, so I play advanced hockey. Baseball, I play basic, too. And I feel there's a lot of meat on the bone, as you say, with that. But with basketball, I really, really enjoyed it. I really felt like I was having a good time with that. And so I did that. Of course, everyone's playing Action PC Golf 2020, and we've had a love-hate relationship with that in the community. Everyone's doing videos and having comments on that. And one of the things was that it was actually you that kind of solved the mystery for a lot of us, is that a lot of us were mishitting really bad. And even some of my last year videos with the 2019 golf game, I complained a lot, and I laughed a lot about, boy, I hit a mishit, 10 or 12 degrees to the left or right, out of bounds again. It just keeps happening. And we couldn't figure it out. And we were getting, as a community, we were kind of really frustrated because it's like, man, this shouldn't be happening this much. And we emailed the Dave Cook Company, and they get back to us and said, nope, it's statistically accurate. I'm like, it can't be. It can't be. Well, you were the one that suggested that when you line up your shot, And now when you line up the shot in Action PC Golf, you're thinking line of sight. Okay, so
Right.
if you got a driver that's going to hit, say, 280 yards, you're thinking, well, if I just put a straight line with my target, that's what he's going to be aiming for. But the problem is I was putting my aiming target on like 300 or 350 or 380, way beyond the 280 he's hitting. And when you mentioned that, well, that's what he's aiming for, so he's going to overhit and mess it all up. Every time he did that, we got a bad hit. When we brought that target inside of the 280 degrees, which is his driving range, the accuracy improved vastly. And we were getting fewer mishits, a lot fewer mishits.
Yeah, because I did the unboxing round and I didn't see it. There was a couple shots that went awry, but you're going to get that over the course of a round. And when you had the trouble, and I went out the next day and played a couple more rounds, and like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
because I haven't had this issue, but I've played a lot of sim golf. And so it's like, no, where you aim, especially in Action PC, is where he wants to, or she wants to land the ball. And so you don't overthink it. And so when you did that, you got it. Now, I'm telling you, I played around a day with 30-mile-an-hour winds, and that ball was being straight around like you wouldn't believe.
Well, you expect that.
You'd expect that.
But so when I played a game with zero wind and I was hitting away, it was you, I think, that said, well, why is your target way over there? And I'm like, well, that's the line that I want to hit it on. But when I brought the target on the same line and I brought it back inside what the club was going to hit, it wasn't perfect, but the accuracy improved greatly. It went from 8, 10, and 12 degree mishits to 1, 2, and 3 degree mishits, which keeps it in the field of play, if you will. And that happens for irons too. So if I'm hitting a long iron, if I'm going to hit 175 with my iron, I try to aim it at 172, 173, and it's way better than trying to over aim it. So that's one thing I had no idea, because I was really frustrated. It's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? I'm picking the right club. I'm aiming it at the flag. I'm giving it a certain amount of power, and it's still spraying all over the course. And for professionals, shouldn't be doing that. I mean, I can see that, but I just don't see it. And the people at Dave Cook, it was Ryan that emailed me and says, statistically, it's accurate. Check it out. Well, he's actually correct. Because now that I'm playing it the right way, I'm hitting it off, out of bounds once in a while, but once in a while. And as you stated, you did the research, and you were like, people were only hitting 65 or 70% of the fairways.
I was surprised it was that few.
So
the greens was only 7 and 10 too.
Yeah, so when you brought that up, that made more sense, but it still didn't make sense as to why I was wild all over the course. So once I toned that down, I played a couple of rounds, and it's been a lot better. Okay, I still think it mishits a little more than it should for supposed to be a fun game. It's a sim, and we talked about this before. I think about if you're playing Call of Duty and you set it up to realistic mode, you take one bullet and you're dead. Whereas if you play Call of Duty and you set it up for fun mode, you can take a bunch of bullets and still play the game. So it's not realistic, but it's fun. So that's what we need to figure out. Do we want realistic or do we want fun, or can we have a little bit of both?
I gotta be honest. I think it's the most realistic golf game I've ever played. And there is that round I played Saturday, the day that we're taping this, left me genuinely frustrated because there wasn't anything that I could do that was right. I thought through all my shots. I had a couple unplayable lies, desert course, so you really can't hit it out from behind a cactus. You're going to get hurt, and other things. And so you're just kind of going to the next tee and fuming. And as I've told you, either offline or on the nightly support chats, mistakes begat mistake. Yep. Once you start that one mistake, you're just thinking. And Bobby Jones said, the great Bobby Jones said, golf is a game played on the course, a 12-inch course, the one between your ears. And you really are. You're fighting against yourself. And so you just go, okay, we're done with that hole. Let me take a deep breath. What can I do for a tee shot? The key thing is, and as you play more of that game, I think you'll realize that on a lot of courses, there are safe places where you can miss hit. And so if it goes 3 degrees to the right, you're still going to be in the fairway, and you're still going to be in a position where you can score, as opposed to 30 yards off in the rough that looks like something that would be in an East German track star armpit in 1978.
Yep. So I did that, and once I figured out my error, and it's still not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better. It's more playable. Let me say it that way. That is, I can actually play the game. And I think my other problem is I'm so used to playing the old 3-click links games that you would put it on easy mode and you'd be middle of the fairway on the green, tapping in for birdie every hole, and you go minus 18 every round. So
and that's just not realistic.
It's not realistic and it's not fun, but that's what we were used to. So seeing now that I can correct the wild drives and the wild shots, and keeping in mind that I'm not playing the old links games or whatever they are, PGA, whatever, that now I get a better frame of mind with it, and it's a little bit easier to deal with and take.
The other thing you can do if you just want to play a fun round, you can play in the casual round on any of the tees, so you can keep the course short if you want.
You can play a practice round, I think it is. You just do whatever you want. Yeah.
You can set the rough for as heavy or as light as you want. You can set the greens and the fairways to be as receptive as you want. I mean, you can make these courses really easy.
Right.
Depending on what you want to do. It just requires, there's a lot of, it's deep. I think of all of, the 5 sims that they produce, I think the golf one has become the deepest of the bunch.
I like how you can manipulate the courses by changing where the pins are. Not in a tournament. The tournament you're kind of stuck, but you can create courses in there. And I don't mean create a course from scratch.
Take your best. If you want an all par 5 course.
Yeah. I have a whole bunch of courses with them, including the 24 that came with the game. So I probably have about 50 courses, let's say.
Yeah.
So you could take your 18 of your favorite holes. One from each course, let's say, and put together an 18-hole course and name it whatever you want to name it. And I've done that. I took a whole bunch of par 3s and just from all these different courses, and I created my own par 3 course. And I think I created a par 5 course.
I think you can reverse the 9s too. So if you want something that's kind of weird, Augusta National, the 9s were designed to be played in reverse. The side that we all know, the back 9 on Sunday, was designed to be the first 9 holes.
No, yeah.
So you can play it. It's just, it really is that deep. Now, the football game is very deep. I don't play defenses with that. We try to keep that simple. I don't tinker a lot with the settings in the baseball game. I don't know enough about basketball to know how deep that game is. The hockey one, you can pretty much make as difficult or as easy as you want. But like I said, I finished that round this morning, and I was tired. It's like
from thinking it through, yeah.
75, it's like, wow, I really struggled with this. But again, the mistakes were mine. Misclubbing, not trying to, struggling with difficult conditions, and that's what the best players in the world do. They don't play 30-mile-an-hour winds every week, but just trying to figure out, okay, what do I do to get myself back on track? So,
yep. Let's see. That's about all I really was playing. Some Strat basketball and some Action PC golf. The new one this week is about pretty much what I played. I played a couple of quarters of basketball here and there and a period of hockey here and there with other games. But, for the most part, those are the big things I played. Let's see. Oh, today's topic, by the way, is we're going to talk to Ron about his journey with sports simulations, cards and dice games, computer games. We just want to kind of pick his brain a little bit and talk to him about his past and how he got to the point he is now. My past, I did a lot of videos on my YouTube channel about how I got here. I was mostly a console gamer for many years, going back to the Sega Genesis, maybe back to Nintendo and Atari. I guess you could go back to Atari, I guess.
You weren't a Tecmo Bowl player?
No, I didn't do the Tecmo Bowl. That's the one I did, and I don't know why. I wasn't a big Nintendo guy. I did the Atari, and it was okay. Then the Intellivision, and then I went through a phase that I wasn't playing the video games as much. I don't know, because I was playing in bands or I was playing high school hockey. I don't know what it was, but I picked it back up a few years out of high school when I saw Sega Hockey. The 1991 Sega NHL game, which was still a game changer for me. And since then, I've really gone all console. And I've done a little bit of PC game, but it's mostly been the console. And so my journey, I already talked about my journey, about how I ended up at the cards and dice point in my life. But We want to talk to you today a little bit, and I'm going to ask you some questions about how you started, and we'll see how that relates to some of the people who listen to the show. I mean, did they have the same start in some of these games? Was their journey similar or different to where we are right now? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get to that, Ron, I do have some breaking news, though.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay, and I'm only going to say this because it was posted on social media, so this was not a private message sent to me by any means. But, okay, so you know the regular season basketball game that I play, and I really like that game, okay?
Your videos on their webpage.
Yeah, so I've done some videos on them, and I talked to Marco, who's one of the people that created the game, and he's a super nice guy. Marco's a super nice guy. And so I did that. I did some videos, and since I've been doing those videos, I've been getting a lot of good feedback from that. And I've people are still emailing me about the spreadsheets I created for the game and what is this game, and they want to play it. It's a fantastic. It's not. It can be a quick play game, and basically it could also be a medium game too. It's because you're playing 3 minutes at a time, and if you want to keep stats, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But it's a pretty deep game. For a basketball game, that's not a long play game like a Strat or a Action PC or anything like that. But the feedback's been really good on that, to a point where Marco posted last night that the response to his game in the last few weeks has been so good, he's starting to work on some new seasons.
Nice.
That is cool. So, yes. Yes, I'm giving a round of applause for Marco and regular season basketball. It is one of my favorite basketball games. I play a lot in basic, admittedly that sometimes I just play for the final score. Yeah, but I need to keep more stats because it is fun doing that. But yes, it's a fun game. And I got to give a shout out to Bill W., who's been jumping in our support chats every night at 6:30 on my YouTube channel, 6:30 p.m. Boston time, if you want to come check out Ron and myself live. And I told him how I played the fourth quarter of the Strat game. And because, it's 20, 25 minutes, you wouldn't want to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on a stream doing that. It's just ridiculous. So I thought I'd play the fourth quarter, be fun. And he had a suggestion. He says, how about you play quick play version of regular season basketball for 3 quarters to get your score? And then you pick up the fourth quarter in Strat. And I was like, boy, that's a fantastic idea. So I think I have...
You are more of the Dave's Classic Rewind. You're doing one-offs.
I like the one-offs. Yeah, one-offs or a playoff series or a home-and-home series. Yeah, I don't get into the full seasons. I did a couple of full seasons, and I get impatient with those, and I don't want to peel off halfway through. So I like to do the shorter projects, and they work out really well for me. The one-offs sometimes or a series or something like that. But, so we had a really good season. The only thing is that I need to make sure that I only have a couple of seasons of Strat cards, but I think I have 83, 84 with Strat, and I think that I have regular season basketball 83, 84. So that would work with that. So... yes, so 83, 84, that's the season that I could run with 3 quarters of regular season basketball going. Yeah, and it's fantastic because I could stream that because it would take a couple of minutes to get through the third quarter, and you could see the game build up, and then I take over. It's almost like that golf game I played, the Roberto Schiavini golf game.
Oh, the Heroes of the Slam, yeah.
Heroes of the Slam or whatever it was, Heroes of the Masters or whatever, the golf game that he had, I did a video on, whereas I went round by round for 3 rounds, just rolling one dice for your round score. And then I took the top, I don't know if I took the top 6 or 8 golfers and went hole by hole for the last round of 18. And so that worked out too, because you quick played through the first 3 rounds and then you selected the best and played the final. So I would enjoy that too. So thanks to Bill W. for that suggestion. If I have a season in Strat that I don't have in regular season basketball, then I would sim it with Action PC or something like that. Just sim 3 quarters and give me a score. So that's the starting point. So anyway, so that's the breaking news. If you like regular season basketball, he didn't indicate which seasons, but he posted it, so it's on social media. So it's not a secret. It's not
any confidence there.
No confidence, because he did post that out there. He didn't hint at what seasons it was, but any season is going to be great with that. I think he's got some ABA too. I should go grab some ABA.
You'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. So I'm enjoying that. Yep. So all right. So let's get on to today's topic.
Okay.
Okay, so I get to put on my reporter hat, and you get to stand at the podium, and I get to ask you some questions here as we talk about your gaming journey. All right, so first things first, as I like to say. What are some of your first memories of playing? Let's limit it to sports sim games, I guess, or right. Sports games in general. What are some of your first memories of the first games you played, and why did you play them?
Well, I've always been a sports fan, and because I could never physically play them, I got more into the analytical part of it. The first card and dice game I played, I bought at a KB toy store like 1982 or 3. It was called Championship Baseball, and it was, surprise, I bet you're stunned at that. And so it was a game, it was a basic 2D6 game played with Topps baseball cards. And so you had a National League All-Star team and an American League All-Star team, and all the team logos were airbrushed off because they were not MLB approved. It was just MLB Players Association.
That always drove me nuts when I saw that, whether it was a game or it was like a card, like a hockey card or a baseball card or anything like that, that the logos were just brushed over.
Yeah. So, the Milwaukee Brewers, you'd have the right color hats, but there's no logo or anything like that. And so my dad and I would play some of that. That was a pretty quick play game. You play a full 9 innings. There wasn't any basic, there's no fatigue. It was just a good introductory card and dice game. And so that was fun. And, we'd play games on the computer. I had an Apple II really early, 82. So we had, baseball game on a paddle. But somebody brought a copy of Micro League Baseball. 84-ish, I think it was. And that was my first, teams playing against each other. And because it wasn't cards and dice, it was all on the computer. You didn't have to hit any shift keys or anything like that. That was a game I could play by myself. And so it came with 20 or 25 great teams. 75 Red Sox, 75 Reds, 27 Yankees, older time teams, whatever year. I think it was for like the 82 or 83 season. So there might have been more recent World Series teams there that, avoided the Yankee teams like the plague. Offense was very simple, or pitching was very simple. You could throw a fastball, a curve, a changeup, or a slider or a knuckler. And based on kind of like payoff pitches today, depending on the pitch was the result. And so there was some basic strategy there. And I got hooked, absolutely got hooked. We got some data discs. I think I got the 84 season, the 85 season. We had a stat disc. A buddy of mine from high school and I would go through the sporting news and other things and build teams and play them. And so I played the dickens out of that game. And later on a second computer, I got the Avalon Hill NBA game. So again, 20, 25 great NBA teams. And so just that sort of thing. And what I'd seen the ads for Strat Napa and the magazine.
Now, these games, before we get to Strat Napa, these games you were talking about, the Avalon Hill game and the other baseball game.
The Micro League.
Describe what are those games? I'm not familiar with them. So is this a roll the dice card type of game? Is this on the computer? I mean, what is this?
Equivalent of an action PC for today.
Okay.
The Micro League game. The original Micro League game was a full graphic game, okay? And so the players would run around and honestly a poor man's version of Dodger Stadium. So there was no real stadium effects or anything like that. But you got animation. So if you throw a fastball to Willie Mays, you could see the little Willie Mays pawn swing and miss or swing and make contact with it. And so you could watch the animation and the scoreboard would change to the play-by-play text. And so Mays hits that one in the gap. Here comes McCovey, and the Giants go up 2-1, 2-1 type thing. But it was based on a few ratings, I think stealing and something else, and numbers. It was certainly a closed engine game. The NBA game was all based on stats. And again, you would select, it didn't tell you who was open. So you kind of had to be creative in how you created the shots. So you could tell Larry Bird, I want you to take an outside shot. Or I want to play this defense. Keep an eye on Julius Erving, that sort of thing. And so after you told it what you wanted to do, there would be a basic animation, again, kind of like Pawns or, 80s computer graphics, and you'd watch the play out.
Okay.
And then you react to it. So, like I said, it's an action PC style.
Okay, so these were games you played on the computer,
right? They were not ports from Stratomatic or anything like that.
And then one thing you said that struck me is you were talking about these were the games that you could play by yourself,
by myself,
single player, and that's a big thing because growing up in the 70s myself, you had all the board games as a kid because there really were no video games. Everything really was a multiplayer game. I mean, you really can't play Monopoly yourself, and you really can't play Scrabble yourself, and things like that.
No, you can't.
And so that was the parlor games they called those because that's what you did. You know what I mean? You watch Happy Days, you have your TV dinner, and then you play Scrabble or you play the Game of Life or Sorry or something like that. But you couldn't do those by yourself. So
right. And my dad was a writer full time, and I had 3 sisters. I have 3 sisters, but A, they were quite a bit younger than I am, and B, not really interested in sports. So trying to say, come on, Mino, let's play some basketball, it just wasn't going to fly. So I pretty much had to abuse myself. But I was a teenage boy, and that's pretty much who I wanted to abuse was myself.
Yeah. I had the same kind of issue because I have one younger brother, and he was not really into sports at all. He's still not into sports, and that's fine. But it's just tough when you're playing Atari or in television, which is what I grew up with. You needed 2 people. And he never wanted to play the sports stuff, and you just couldn't play him by yourself. And so when you find a game you can play by yourself, single player.
And the other thing is, too, because these came with teams, and I suppose, if I'd gone through and kept the full season stats for all that, how, they would have been accurate. It was much more fun than the old Mattel games. The basketball game and the football game and the hockey game and all that. But so you could imagine that you were the Islanders or the Canadians or the Red Sox, but they weren't realistic numbers. They were good ways to amuse yourself and you had fun. But to actually play the 61 Yankees or whatever was just, oh my God.
Yeah, really? What I used to do too is I would play on like the carpet. I would put all my little baseball guys on the carpet and play a game myself, and there was no strategy, no rolling dice. It was just, I would pitch, and if I wanted the guy to hit it, I would hit it. And I did the same with hockey. I think I told the story how my grandfather made me
a
table hockey rink with little boards and nets and stuff. And it was a hockey rink. For all intents and purposes, it was a hockey rink. And I had the little guys that went on top of the cake. And every year, we would get new guys, and I try to have different color teams. And I would play, on that tabletop like it was, and I just using my hands and pushing the puck around with the players. And I did that for so many years. And it wasn't a board game by any means, but that's kind of how I started there. So, so I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So get into college. And I'd seen the ads for Strat and was interested. It wasn't that it looked complex. It looked like it wasn't going to be Ron friendly to play. Cards and dice have always been a thing because if you roll before virtual dice, I had to put the dice in my mouth and roll them that way.
Now, when I saw them, it's funny you bring that up. When I remember seeing the ads for Stratomatic, probably in the hockey news and stuff like that when I was a kid, or Baseball Digest.
Right.
And it always put me off as a kid. Because I'm thinking Stratomatic, so I'm thinking it's going to be some really boring number crunching thing, and I knew nothing about it. But my initial impressions from hearing the name Strat-O-Matic, it just sounded like I'm going to be looking at sheets and sheets of paper and just drawing, using a protractor, and that's just my thoughts about that. And I was just like, I have no interest in ever playing this game because it sounds like, oh, you want a statistical accuracy game? Come play Stratomatic. And I'm just like, no, I'd rather play with the little, guys on the table. Right. I would rather enjoy that than to play a math game, but I was obviously completely wrong as a kid in that thing, but when you think of the name though, that's the impression I got. So you saw that too and got you had your own impression of that.
I mean, thoughts on it, and again, my mother. I watched too much sports as it was on television, and so my mother specifically was not going to go out of her way to feed into any more of that addiction than I already had. No, you spend enough. I've told the story, I think, once I told her the story last week The time that she threw me out to go play outside when she's walking by in a summer afternoon, it's the first summer we had ESPN, and I'm watching the world's worst avid golfer contest. And the words that she used were, get the blank out of the house, get it out right now, you're done. And so for me I knew it would be pushing my luck to say, I want this. Because it was going to be, you spend way too much time in your room as it is, watching and listening to ball games.
Well, we got that too. To be fair, our mother was throwing us outside all the time.
And she was right. You got to be a well-rounded individual. So there wasn't anything that you could do. And of course, the stuff would make a mess and all that. So it really wasn't anything I'd ever seen. I was in high school the first time I saw someone play Strat. Like, oh, wow, that's fun. And, but I didn't really have any buddies enough that would have played it. I don't think so. It would have been all solo. And at that point, that's kind of the weird. One thing to play computer games solo, but another to sit there, as you said, you can't. You're thinking of Monopoly, Stratego, things that you would normally not play with someone else, and you're not thinking of it as cards. Solitaire, of course, being one of the most popular card games of all time. And so, like, oh, what'd you do today? Well, I've recreated the 1986 World Series. Oh, isn't that exciting? No, it's not. So.
Well, I get that from friends, too, because, I would play the little games with my figures on the table, and I'd go, hey, do you know that the St. Louis Blues beat the Minnesota North Stars, 4-1 today? And they'd be like, oh, really? That's cool. And they had no idea what I was saying, but I was playing my own. It wasn't a Stratomatic or an app or anything but I was playing on the tabletop with these guys, playing with my hands, creating this fictitious game in my head. And it was fun as heck for me, man. And like you were saying, I just recreated this whole thing, and people just like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I mean, it was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And so you get that immersion factor there. So I learned about Strat when I went to college. And as I've joked plenty of times before, it's reasons number 1 through 15,000 why I flunked out. And we got into a draft baseball league with the 1990 season. And we got into a draft hockey league, so I learned how to play Strat hockey that way. And someone else scored the old Strat football game and had the 1980 season. The Cleveland Browns and Atlanta Falcons could destroy you because you could just run all the time. And so those were the first real sit down at the table, tabletop games as you were. For Christmas that year, I got Wayne Gretzky Hockey 2 for the PC. And so got that experience, and the first ever, we had a street hockey league in college. And so I took our team and created that for Wayne Gretzky Hockey.
Now what kind of game was Wayne Gretzky Hockey on the computer?
It was more of it was a graphic game. It was kind of a semi-simulator, more of an arcadey thing.
Now, were you moving a joystick around and shooting like an Atari or something?
A mouse, yeah.
Okay.
Mouse.
Okay.
You could skate with a keyboard, but that wasn't very fun. But they had animations and fights, and Gretzky scored a lot, and so it was a lot of fun. Of my first real football computer replay game, I don't think it was XOR, but something similar, and it came with 3 seasons. 87, 88, and 89, and I wore out the copy protection sheet. So my mother actually had to write stuff down on a piece of paper, because it was, okay, what is the code for Washington 37? Okay, then you had to put it in. But that was, you would call offensive plays, you would run pass special, and then there were 6 or 7 run plays, and then you determined who got the carry. So it was a 3-number combination, like 1, 4, 2, or whatever. And we replayed seasons and created own schedules and that. And then,
So you did a lot of computer gaming back in the day.
A lot of computer gaming early, yeah.
Okay, but so you did play some cards and dice.
Yes.
What do you think the ratio was of cards and dice playing to computer playing back in the day?
If I don't remember ever doing any solo cards and dice. So cards and dice, you needed to have someone else around. But there were plenty of times I should have been doing homework that we played cards and dice stuff.
Okay.
So the computer gaming was, you got a half hour till dinner? Okay. I can get a game of football or a round of Jack Nicklaus, golfing or whatever. Probably 60-40 cards and dice. And it wasn't college, for crying out loud.
Right, okay.
hardier, but it
So it was almost 50-50 the computer and the cards. Okay.
One of the games I bought that year was Stratomatic for the computer. And that was fun because you could quick play things. And you'd get the full card. There was no card image extra. It all came with the package. And create your own teams and that. So once I kind of got into that, it probably became more solo once I could immerse myself more. Certainly past the time when I was on breaks. So.
All right. So from there, where'd you go? So you're in the college and you're doing all the stuff there. And so how did you get from there to here?
Dropped out and had to go to work. And computers, of course, were not the cheapest things in the world, so you really couldn't upgrade every 2 years. And just let the games kind of go. I played a lot until the computer died. Right around the time I started to date my now wife, I got the itch to play Strat. And I must have had a computer with a CD-ROM because I remember, I don't know if I called. I got on the mailing list somehow. This might have been through AOL or something like that. And so I ordered like version 6 and it came with whatever that current season was. And I just played the snot out of it. And it just kind of would scratch my itch. And it wasn't $60 then. It might have been 40, which was still a lot of money at the time with limited income, but it was a once a year purchase. And I would just keep buying it. And the season would come with the key disc. So you had to put in the 3.5 or else the game wouldn't run. That's how they got around copy protection. And just so, draft my own leagues, get the own stats. My wife, not interested in sports, really could have cared less. And so that was all solo gaming. And I must have done that for maybe 10 years. Got into some of the management games, front office football, which was much more football manager, which is more roster management. Let's kind of OOTP. In fact, the first version of OOT I played was version 2. And this year is version 21. Tells you how long ago I was doing that. And I was looking for a replay game. I was not looking for, I don't care if someone wants a contract, that sort of thing. And then I found the Action PC stuff. And I spent a little too much money on that. And let that, bought the baseball game. Had to sneak that one past. I think I spent $53 for the first version of that. That was instant death. And then more and more, when I started to work in the field of sports, I just started to buy more sports games because I enjoyed it. And kind of that's how it built into that. Look, the early days of the internet, okay, what's a good PC baseball game? What's out there? And trial and error, and sometimes it was Strat, and sometimes it was Action PC, and getting these games from overseas. My wife would go, "You got a package from customs today. What's in here?" Oh, kind of in the wilderness of things. And then, whatever the job situation would take me, kind of where we are now. Just kind of, once things became downloadable, kind of ballooned.
So how do you feel about, so you played a lot of cards and dice in the past, and now you're playing probably mostly the PC gaming sim stuff there. How do you think they actually compare? What are some of your thoughts, pros and cons for each?
I always find my immersion is better playing a cards and dice port because I can imagine whatever situation that I'm in. I might be playing the Yankees and the Red Sox, for example, but it may not be at Fenway or Yankee Stadium. It may be at some high school field. At one point with an APA clone, I came up, it took 8 teams and came up with like the Washington County League. And so you go around from different places and you picture different things. And so it can be whatever that you want it to be. And while the computer games kind of force you into their version of reality, which can be great. I mean, I've done several replays on my channel that I thought turned out really well based on that. But the cards and dice really is, or the cards and dice port really is, You picture what you want. Do you want Wayne Gretzky playing at Northlands Coliseum, or do you want him at the Dave and Ron's hockey rink in Saugus? And you go to the place across the street, the steakhouse across the street that's closed now with the cactus statue or the big old cactus. Those were always in the back of my Red Sox yearbooks. Like, that's wild. And that sort of thing. And you can picture whatever it is that you want. And once you're familiar with the rules of the game, it flies by. It plays at the pace that you dictate the pace to be. The pros for the computer games, like the Action PC or something along that line, is it does all the work for you. And so you find the one that gives you the right amount of decision making. You can play that game. It presents a whole new level of challenges. I know you're not a huge fan of baseball, but when I go through and do my daily baseball game that I stream on my channel, I have to clean up whatever the computer did for bullpen usage. And so I just can't pull out anybody and say, do that. Oh, this guy threw 55 pitches last night. He's not available. Oh, crap. What do I do?
Right.
It makes me a better manager, but it also tells a very different story. And because I have a journalism writing background, I love the storytelling aspect of those games. It's not always going to tell me the story that I'm familiar with, but it could come close.
Right.
Or it could be completely different. So I think that's the big thing for the PC-based games are, look, you can do what you want with them.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of the management style games, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, what I like about the cards and dice, I feel it's more personal. I think you're more connected with a cards and dice game. What I also like about the cards and dice game is that if you want to, you can make any kind of changes you want to cards and dice. You can create your own rules. You can leave rules out. It's really wide open to what you want to do with a cards and dice game. So for me, the pros of cards and dice are it's much more personal. You have all these homebrew rules, and that's what makes it fun. The only thing about the cards and dice, sometimes it's the footprint and the setup. It does take a little bit of time to set the things up and play and get it just right. And if you're changing lines in some of these things, so it can be a bigger production per se when you're doing the cards and dice. Conversely, with the computer games, there's no setup at all. You turn it on, you go, and sometimes late at night, I like to put up my feet and listen to the radio and play a game, and all I got to do is use the mouse. And I can save it at any point, and it's not taking up any space in my desktop and the whole bit. And it keeps all the stats, which is really good, so you can sim games and generate stats on the fly. But the downside of that is that you are kind of stuck playing with the limitations of the game. Now, some games have rules you can change or modify, which is great, but you really can't create a homebrew rule, or you really can't not play it this way. You're kind of stuck at the mercy of what the game's going to allow you to do. And so there's the yin and the yang of both for me, and that's why I like to play both. Because sometimes, if I have the time, I'm going to play the cards on the table, and I'm going to have a great old time, like I did with Strat basketball the other night. And the other times, I'm sitting here late at night, and I don't want to set things up, and I don't want to create a big production in it, but I still want to play. So I'll pop in Action PC or a golf game, or maybe I'll play Out of the Park baseball, or something like that. I franchise hockey managers, which I haven't played in a while, but I used to enjoy that late at night too, or any of the Strat PC games. I got a whole bunch of them there, and it's fun kicking back. Or sometimes I'll even play a point and click adventure game on Steam or something like that. And it's just something you don't have to set up, and I'm just going to play a little bit of this for 20 minutes or a half hour or whatever. So I think there's definitely pros and cons to both, and so that's what we wanted to talk to you about today, kind of like your journey, what you started with, and where you kind of ended up. So right now you're big on obviously most of the PC games. So the Action PC, the Strat we talked about. You're also playing that ASG golf game. You're playing that a lot. Yeah. Yep. But you've adapted some of the other games, like the Roberto Schiavini games, which are not computer games, but you can play them pretty much on a spreadsheet once you get set up. Talk about that.
There's a range of games that you can play on Excel. Boy, that if that doesn't kill a date, I don't know what else will. But the Roberto Schiavini games, because I stream, I have a 2-monitor setup, And so I can put a PDF on my other monitor, or I can whatever I need to do on another monitor and just set up a spreadsheet. And thanks to a program called Ball Roller, I have my dice. So I can virtually roll the dice, get the result, and play the game that way. And Roberto's stuff is wonderful. And he's got pretty much everything. And so there's a computer assist there because I'm playing it on a computer. But it's a case of I can do things that aren't real involved. You're looking at one sheet at a time. It takes longer to set up sometimes than it does to actually play. But once things are set up, you're golden. You can run for whatever it is that you'd like.
Right.
And again, just like with any other card and dice game, you get the immersion from that, and you can run races in your head or whatever it is. And you don't need to be. I mean, some of the things with the computer games, I think you do kind of. I don't think they're real good for casual fans of a sport at times. You know, you've adapted well to the basketball, but if you were to sit down with the Action PC basketball without playing anything else first, you get real frustrated at that because you're not a huge basketball.
And I did. That's probably one of the least ones I played was the basketball. But now that I'm going through my basketball phase, and I've tweaked a little bit of the settings, and I think the newer basketball game plays a little smoother than last year's, and I've learned how to play it a little bit, and I know my limitations with basketball. I don't know anything about defense and double teaming and all this, so I just bring the ball up the court, I find an open man, I take the shot, and that's kind of how I play the game, and that's all I want to do, and that's what I do with Strat basketball. Right. Is I just set up the shot, take the shot. Do I want to do a 3 or not a 3? And I don't really get into the nitty gritty of it because I don't know enough about it.
Right, and so I think with Roberto's games, you don't need to be an expert in the sport. You just got to be willing to enjoy it. And so, yeah, I do a lot more virtual cards and dice now that I'm older at 48 than I did probably 5 years ago. I just want that gaming time to create my own little world. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the Action PC games. I play them enough. I stream them an awful lot. But just that whole use your head type deal is something that right now I'm finding very ideal.
It is. It's fun because, again, we talked about the cards and dice immersion. You can put that on a spreadsheet, and you don't have all the flair and the dramatics of an Action PC or any other kind of PC game. And it's kind of bare bones, but in your mind, you're playing the game.
All that matter what's in your mind.
Yep.
You know, and I think for me, that's always been the draw. I don't think the draw has changed much from 1982. I mean, I've been playing versions of these games for about 37, 38 years. You know, that hasn't changed. Certainly I've watched a lot of sports over the years. And again, it's an activity. My wife doesn't need to get involved. There's no setup. There's no printing things and having to argue about what the printer is doing and all that. And as I'm looking behind me where I've got all baseball cards and stuff, there's just, I must have 300 baseball seasons for all my, I can't imagine trying to store all the cards or team sheets or whatever it was for that. You could just it just opens the door up for so much more.
Yeah, it does.
But I think really in the last year, you know, my appreciation and understanding of what these games do has grown tenfold. I remember playing the pre-play for this past year's Super Bowl between Kansas City and San Francisco. Now, I ended up getting the result wrong. I had San Francisco winning it. But when that game actually came on, as someone who doesn't watch a lot of modern football, I understood what those two teams are going to try and do. And and I got that from just reading ratings on a sheet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cool. and that was pretty cool because I knew how the game worked. And, yep, I know what Kansas City's strengths are. I know what San Francisco's strengths are. If you shut down the tight end for San Francisco, they can run and Kansas City can't. But Kansas City has Mahomes, and I know what he can do. And, I mean, that to me was very cool. And, of course, you know, the meeting people in the community and the interviews and all that, you know, it's just I'm really appreciative of what I do. You know, I'm glad that it's there, but, you know, I guess for a lack of a better word.
I got one last question before we wrap up here.
Okay.
Looking back at all the games that you played that are playing now, would you do anything different? Meaning, is there a game that you wish you had played more, a game that you said, oh, I shouldn't have done that? I mean, what would you have done differently looking back at this whole thing?
I wish I had continued to play the strat type games in the mid 90s and learn not to hate APBA. I saw it once in college. You know how a basic strat card is laid out in baseball where the results are right there, ground ball 2BX. Okay. You know what that is. And when the first time I looked at an APBA card, and it's a bunch of red numbers and it's a bunch of black numbers. And I forget which order it is. And so you roll the dice and then it's a number. And I thought that was so stupid. But the fact that you could play that game in a hurry and get the enjoyment out of it. I wish my mind had been open a little bit more for that. And so, and thought less of, you're playing a game by yourself. How dorky is this? I remember there was a girl, no longer a girl. She's pushing 52. Her boyfriend at the time was a hockey fan. Came from your neck of the woods, was up in Lindenville. And she remember her turning to me at one point to me and say, you know what he's doing right now? He's playing Stratomatic hockey up in his room by himself. Oh, isn't that dorky? And I really wish that I hadn't thought that way, because obviously you don't want it to take over your life, but man, there's a lot of fun to be had. And I wish that I had continued to do that in the times that I lived by, especially when I lived by myself.
Well, speaking about that, there's a lot of people who play games, like the World of Warcraft online, or, there's big games that people play online on the computer, and, men and women, and even today they play those. I mean, I think the heyday was a little while ago, but I mean, there's still people to play. There's millions of people to play these games online. Mm-hmm. And when you mention that, it's like, oh yeah, I've been playing World of Warcraft. Now I don't play it. I don't know how to play it. I've seen it played in the whole bit, and I can see how it would be addicting. I really can. But there's a lot of people I know that play that, and yeah, there's a stigma with that. When you're like, yeah, I play World of Warcraft all the time. You look at those, and you just get the stigma, like I say, up in the bedroom, for days at a time, not coming out except to grab a potato chips in a Coke, and then up there just playing this silly game and not enjoying the rest of the world. And that's the stigma with that. And I can see how that would be the stigma with something like, with the sports simulations games. Like, there's a whole big world out there. Well,
And what are you doing? It's the North Stars and the Bruins from the Met next. And I guess we've gotten over that now, since I have a channel dedicated to playing those games. But yes, when you're 22, 23, 24 years old, you should be outside. You should be hiking. Mike Monfilo. No, I can't do that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the internet has made, I think, a lot of this possible.
Right.
Because what would you say, back in 1993, 1994? Well, I had this tremendous experience last night. I had, Barry Bonds hit a walk-off homer for me. Oh, what'd you do? Oh, me and 18 friends, we went, fishing. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, you need a balance. You can't sit in your room the whole time and play these games and not get outside. But at the same time, if you play them and had fun with them, then good for you. You're not hurting anybody. And but again, everything's with balance.
I was so amazed in the late 90s, around the time that I got married, to run into, over the Delphi Forum, to run into people who were adults, because they were kind of marketed as teenage boys games. Mm. Full-fledged adults, older than I was, 40s, 50s, 60s years old, that still played these games, and that there were conventions, and there were Usenet groups for Strat Baseball.
I think that the big thing I'm seeing now is that I didn't really see a lot of when I first started playing this, was about a year and a half ago or whatever it was. What was, and I couldn't appreciate it at the time either, is that people were sharing their projects and their games. And now I do that, and it's fun. And it's fun when people post, their game, and there's a lot of it I just gloss over because it's just, I'm going to play 1930 baseball. I sorry,
and that's not your thing.
Not my thing. I don't care. But when someone's playing, no matter what game it is, when they're posting stats from a 70s hockey season or an 80s football season, boy, I'm all over that, and I'm following that, and I'm seeing how the teams are doing, and I'm chiming in saying, go Bruins, go Seals, and it's fun to follow. And I think that's a huge part of this is again, you're upstairs in your bedroom playing this game, but now you can play that game and share it with people and talk about it. And they can talk back to your game, and you guys can say, hey, everyone's sharing. It's like a book club. Everybody's sharing their ideas at the book club meeting. And I think that's been a huge part of things, too.
That's a good analogy there.
It is.
I never would have thought when I started restarted Retro Sports Network that I'd have over 600 subs.
Yep.
But again, that's tribute to that there's an interest in the community, and it's not always about nostalgia. I mean, yes, there's a name recognition factor that you're playing with the players that you watched as a kid, but it's not. Remember the good old days when Ronco had the Atrex and you could get Beach Baby and 17 different. No, that's not what it is for me. It's fun because I know the players, but it's not. I think life was better in 1966 or whatever the hell it is. It's that. I want to do this. Yep. And I know that. So
So anyway, all right. Well, Ron, I thanks for kind of opening up here. We talked about your journey with your games and how you started, what you're playing, and how you got to this point here. And I'm interested to see the people that listen to this show. I mean, how has your gaming journey been? Has it been similar to Ron's? Was it more similar to mine? I mean, I'm coming late to the party here, or have you been playing all along and enjoying it? I mean, so we want to know what is your gaming journey been? How did you start playing some of these sports simulation games? How did you get involved in it? Some people we read on Delphi, and even sometimes on our own forum, Digital to Dice over there on the Facebook group, people says, geez, I got away from the game for 15, 20, 30 years, and now I'm coming back.
You got, there's kids and footprints, and you get married, and other things become more important. And I think for a lot of us, and I bet that would be a lot in the comments too, is like we were surprised when we were interested in going back to, you remember when you did this? That there were thriving groups. I mean, we've talked about this right in episode 0 of the show. This is the golden age of sports sim games. Right now, there are so many different. Roberto Savini makes a Taekwondo game, for crying out loud.
Yep.
You'll never have had anything more available than there's right now.
There's so much choice, and a lot of it you can get instantly over the internet. You can print it out yourself. Yeah, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it.
Yeah, no, and so that was just so not the case 30 years ago.
Yep. So anyway, so we want to know, what was your gaming journey like? We want to hear from the crowd. All right. Before we wrap it up, Ron, why don't you go over one more time the topic for one of our future episodes? So we want feedback on that too.
All right. Ann Wiltshire from Sports Sims Magazine, I think that's the name of it, wants to know for, let's say, great teams that have happened over the years, who's underperformed for you when you played them? The 72 Dolphins being a good example. Can you get them to be undefeated? Can you get them to advance in a best of tournament? I know that I've struggled with the 75 Cincinnati Reds, one of the greatest teams of all time, but they have no ace pitching. You can get beat by someone else's good ace, such as Tom Seaver, the 73 Mets. Or conversely, is there a team that maybe didn't do well, didn't get through in the playoffs, might have underperformed in real life, that overplays for you on the tabletop or the console or the computer? Good example might be Dave might be able to get last year's Tampa Bay Lightning to the Stanley Cup final or win the whole thing when they couldn't even get out of the first round. The 78 Milwaukee Brewers were loaded with starting pitching, but got waylaid because the Yankees, Red Sox, and Orioles were better in real life. Players that might have overperformed for you or underperformed for you. So that sort of thing, and we want your comments on that. And we'll do a future show based on your comments.
All right. Let's wrap things up here.
All right.
This is what, episode 39, Ron?
Episode 39, the Mike Greenwell episode.
Oh, we're going to go with the Gator.
The Gator.
All right. So, and this is the Digital to Dice podcast. You can find us at digitaltodice.com. That's our website where we park all of our podcasts. Over on Spreaker, you can listen to us on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or wherever else you find your podcasts. We have a text line, 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423. And on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Digital to Dice. If you're on Facebook, come join the discussion over there. Everyone, have a great day. Let's hope it gets above 38 degrees here today. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.